self-sabotage, that irrational and destructive behavior in which our own actions lead us to our own demise. It is a type of behavior in which we decide to pursue choices that are horrible for our own well-being. Have you ever been in those type of situations where you should have known better? Where the actions you decided to pursue simply did not pass your gut check, you did them anyways, and it all ended in chaos and disarray? I certainly have been in those situations multiple times. I am a game theorist at heart. Game theory is a branch of mathematics that teaches economists how to study decision-making among rational individuals. Rational individuals just like you and I. We are considered to be rational because we are assumed to always make choices that maximizes our happiness in our lives. Now, that's a big assumption. Assuming that everyone in this room is rational is simply bananas. For my part, I am not always rational. I tend to make really stupid choices without weighing their consequences. In order to paint a picture of how irrational I tend to behave, I'm going to tell you a story. Back in my high school days, I decided to join cross country. For the most part, we needed to wake up really early in the morning, run a few miles, and get ready for competition. Now, the competition was about 60 days away. And our coach allowed us to be very autonomous. We could literally practice at our own time and at our own pace, as long as we could get the work done. Now, the very first morning of training came by, I opened my eyes, and I said, maybe tomorrow. The very next day, I actually got out of bed, I stepped outside, and I realized it was kind of cold. So I was like, maybe tomorrow, but for reals this time. I engage in this type of behavior where I literally saw those 60 days come down to 0, and I did not train any one single day. Regardless, I still ended up going to that cross-country competition. And up to this point in my life, it has been one of the most embarrassing things I've ever done. Out of 325 competitors, I was at 325th place. Now, luckily for me, I don't have to worry about running anymore because I'm an economist now, but you know what I mean? Why did I engage in that type of behavior? Why did I put myself in that position? And the answer to that is very simple. Comfort. It was extremely comfortable for me to stay in bed and not put in any work. My own self-sabotaging gave me quick fixes of comfort, which led me to the inevitable end of failing at that cross-country competition. Now, comfort has another friend, short-sightedness. Being short-sighted is a tendency to look maybe a day into the future. That's why it was easy for me to say, it feels very comfortable for me to stay in bed right now, so I will worry about, getting the work done tomorrow. Now, the story that I just told largely affected myself. My own self-sabotaging affected my ego. It was me that was being embarrassed in front of everyone. It was me, the one that was being shunned by my track coach. But there are other situations in which we allow for this self-sabotaging to permeate through society. They are larger in scale because they involve more people. So let us take self-sabotage and put it into a bigger scale. How big of a scale, you may ask? And I will say, let us go society-wide. Now, a secondary question you may have is, well, Ray, why take self-sabotage to a society-wide scale? It's not like I'm doing something that affects other people, right? And to that, I will say, yes, you are, and most likely, you are doing it every single day. Now, we, rational members of society, are always engaging in a game of competition. And the worst part is, we do not even know it. We are playing a game of competition when it comes to the allocation of scarce resources for our own personal use. I call this societal sabotage. Scarce resources in economics are things such as clean air, water, food. Therefore, not realizing that we're actually playing a game of competition will most likely end in a very unhappy ending for everyone involved. So, how does societal sabotage work? To demonstrate, I'm going to ask a question. Please raise your hand if you have ever turned on your shower and waited until the water was hot enough in order for you to get in. Keep your hand raised if you have engaged in this behavior multiple times. Okay, that's quite a lot of you. So, why do we engage in this behavior? We are assumed to be rational, we know what we're doing, so why do we engage in the constant waste of water? It is because taking a hot shower is more comfortable than taking a cold one, right? Either way, some of you may come to me and say, well, Ray, okay, I may waste some water in the morning, but it's not like the water I waste has an impact on everybody else, right? Well, at this point, as an economist, you're just giving me enough information for me to prove you wrong once again. So let us take a look at this diagram. Every little square represents 5 gallons of water. So if we assume that every morning you waste about 5 gallons of water for 365 days a year, that turns out to be 1,825 gallons of water that is being wasted every day. Now, that's only for you. You can safely assume that everyone you know is engaging in this exact same behavior. At the end of the day, the amount of water being wasted becomes immeasurable. And that is the problem. We tend to worry about getting a hot shower today and not at any other point in the future. Chances are, whenever you open up the faucet, you don't think if you will have enough water for tomorrow. You just expect it. Now, that not only goes for water. We can actually apply this same concept to fuel. So have you ever driven around the parking lot trying to find that one perfect parking spot that is so close to the door as to minimize the distance you walk from your car to the store? Well, I took it upon myself to do some little quick math. And I conducted an experiment in which I actually decided to go to the store and realize how much it costs for me to find that prime parking spot. It turned out to be that it takes about 700 to 1,000 feet just driving around the parking lot, trying to find a good parking space, and assuming that my car mileage, the fuel efficiency, is 25 miles per gallon, and assuming that the price of gasoline was $2.60, math happens, and we get that it cost me between 1 to 2 cents to find that good parking spot. Not that much. Well, according to the Institute of Transportation Engineers, there are 4,200 Walmart locations around the US. And every single day, a Walmart location gets about 10,000 car visits. Now, if we extrapolate that and we assume that everyone else engages in this exact same behavior, more math happens, and we turn out to be that we as a society consciously waste between $420,000 to $840,000 every single day. In a year, those numbers turn out to be $153 million to $306 million simply being wasted because we refuse to walk. Now, are we thinking about the future of our children, of our grandchildren? It seems that as a society, we have indoctrinated ourselves to put our own personal comfort over the future of generations. Now, you may come to me and say, well, Ray, okay, we're obviously playing a game of competition. We're obviously going to lose this game, so how can we solve this? And I would say a possible solution would be to implement a lean mentality. Lean practices in businesses are those things in which we can actually take small strategic choices that will have great compounding effect into the future. Therefore, in order to paint a clearer picture of what I'm talking about, I'm going to walk you through an example. Let us assume that we have this guy named Luca. So Luca is working for this company that is called Cats Are Awesome Incorporated, which they literally make cat-themed mugs. And so every time that Luca gets an order, he actually has to physically get up his desk, walk down the coffee break, and he has to grab a paper from the printer, he has to walk down his office and fill in the invoice. This takes about 5 minutes of his time. And assuming that every single hour he gets 3 orders, he gets paid about $30 an hour, and he works 40 hours a week, Luca gets paid $300 a month for walking. Over the course of the year, that number turns out to be over more than $15,000 for simply exercising around the office. That's amazing. But the simple solution here will be to simply put a printer right next to Luca's office, and that could cost around $100. That is lean. We're trying to find solutions to problems that could be evaded. We as a society have a duty. We have a duty to be proactive, not reactive. In the future where scarce resources are uncertain, we need to think about the future of generations, and we need to come up with better solutions to manage our waste. Now, I defy you to go out there and try to make very small changes that will have great compounding effects into the future. And maybe take a cold shower once in a while.